That day was the day I was going to do it. I was finally going to ask my crush out. I mean, tomorrow is the school's Valentine's disco, and neither of us has a date. So why not? I thought to myself as I checked my outfit in the mirror. Suddenly, I saw a flash of white in the corner, but it was gone as quick as it had arrived. Moving towards my jacket, I picked it up and trembled towards the door, shaken by what had just happened. What had just happened? I shook my head, telling myself I had an overreactive imagination. Walking out of the door, I tripped over a pink box wrapped in red ribbons. Ow! I shouted even though no one would come and help me. Looking at the package, I stood up and grabbed it, hurrying inside to unwrap it. Screams erupted from my throat. Inside the box was a human heart with an arrow struck through it. A note was next to it saying, "His heart is forever yours." My own heart was beating louder than ever inside my chest. Why was this happening to me? Was this some awful prank? It didn't feel like a prank. Dragging myself to the corner of the hall furthest away from the box and heart, I curled up into a ball. Sobs shook my body as thoughts whirled inside my head. Who was it? Did I know them? I got worried and called my mom, deciding not to tell her. The phone rang 3 times before her warm voice answered. "What's wrong, sweetie?" I nearly cried. I said nothing, but I told her that I loved her and that was all. I put the phone down. I needed to go to his house. Don't ask me why, but I just needed to see him. My body moved out of the door towards his house. I knew where he lived because we were friends, our friends, I don't know anymore. But it was like I was in a trance, I couldn't do anything. When I got to his house, I banged on the door. No reply. The door was open. Cautiously, I stepped into the hall and moved towards his living room, whispering his name. Oh, where was he? I stopped dead in my tracks. No, 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 this is not true. Sinking to my knees, I wept. It was him. It was his heart. Oh God, why? His body was lying on the floor as if in a sleep. Only he wasn't. You could tell because of the gaping hole in his chest. Even though I was throwing my guts up, I saw how someone or something had carefully traced love heart patterns into his open wound, spreading out over his torso. I scrambled towards him. "Wake up!" I started to scream. He wouldn't wake up. Why didn't he wake up? Why? I whipped my head around to see something. It was Cupid? He was crying, blood spilling down his cheeks. His arrow pointed at me. Wait, that's the same arrow that was in the heart of my beloved. I cupped his head on my lap and whispered, "Why at the monster?" It opened its mouth and let out its haunting voice. Why, you ask? Because I've spent all my existence finding love for others, yet no one person has thanked me or even loved me back. So this is my revenge. It shrieked, and my ears bled. I couldn't move. I didn't care. Why should I? I opened my arms and accepted death. Only now, as I can reach through to your world, can I tell my story. I hope for you that you don't suffer the same fate as me. I will be watching you. Valentine's Day, 1998. I remember that day when I asked you to be my Valentine. That special bond that I felt was going on between us was increasing, and I wanted to take that to the next level. I remember the look on your face. The happiness and excitement of the day we spent together drained from your face like water running down a plug hole. You said no. I loved you. You know I did. So why would you do this to me? Why? I remember when you walked into the crowd of lovers. I sat on the bench crying. I walked home on my own. No one was at home to comfort me after what you did. I remember waking up and looking at the patterns of my cuts from last night. The blood on the carpet was still there from last night. The writing on my bedroom wall was still there. Why? The writing said, all written in blood. I remember 2 weeks later, I saw you on the street with another man, much younger and better looking than me. The pain just grew and grew. Everything we had done together had just been thrown away by you. Every time we fucked, you told me that you loved me and only me. I remember when I walked down that alley and that gang of thugs mugged me and killed me. I died thinking of you as the knife plunged into my chest, ending my life with the pain in my heart as the knife dug deeper into me. I could feel the life slipping away. The sheer pain was excruciating. I remember at my funeral, my friends and my family were there. My mother was crying, my father was comforting her. I looked around but couldn't find you anywhere. When I died, it wasn't nice. All I could feel was searing pain through my body as if I was on fire. The pain was excruciating, and I only escaped because I didn't feel complete. I felt I needed something more, and I knew what it was. It was revenge. I don't know how I escaped, but it involved lots of pain. When I got back to Earth, I felt like going straight home to say hi to everyone and say that I survived. Then I realized no one could see me, so I decided to kill the thugs that took away my life. I could still move things, but I was invisible. It was great fun, and I enjoyed it so much. The first one I went for ended up face down on the ground with a cracked skull and no scalp. He never knew what hit him. I used the same knife he used to kill me to carve his pretty little eyes out of his sockets. By this time, the two other assholes had backed into a corner. I ripped the first one's fingers off with my teeth. After that, I cut his eyes out, holding them in the same hand as the others. I knew what I was going to use them for. I was going to make a necklace for you. With the second shuddering in pain on the floor and the third in tears, I felt the rush and became even more violent. I cracked his jaw with the first uppercut and dislodged his head from his body with the second. And as with the others, I cut his eyes out with the same knife and kept the eyes and the knife for later use. I knew where I had to go next. I was going to his house, the one who took you from me. I was going to be less forgiving to him. When I first saw him, he knew something was wrong. He could sense me getting closer. I knocked him out with a single punch to the neck, taking out his airway and suffocating him till he collapsed. After that, I surgically cut a hole in his throat so that he could breathe. I wanted this to last for as long as possible. He choked up blood and started to wake. On the verge of death, it appeared he could see me. He knew who I was. "But you were dead," he stuttered. He was so wrong. I cut his eyes out with him still screaming, then plunged the knife deep into his stomach, watching his intestines pour out onto the cold carpet floor. At least I think it was cold. It was too drenched in blood for me to tell. I felt better after this, but still not complete. I was still missing something. It was you. I needed you. I would never be complete without you. So I set off to your house, whistling to myself along the way. I was happy for some reason. I knew nothing could stop me now as I drew closer. I felt happier and happier. You were surprised to see me. You cried and I told you not to. You wouldn't stop and I tied you up. I got angry. I shouted. I cut you. I put the necklace I made for you on you and you just screamed louder. I plunged the murder weapon that was used on me into your eye. And from then on we were tied together in a permanent bond. No one would separate us. I was happy now. I could finally rest.